In the year 2410, Grom, now a hulking massive goblin with a pendulous and unnatural belly, led his horde through the Blackfire Pass and northwards along the dwarf-held highlands. He brought several dwarf holds to ruin, desecrating the tombs of dwarf ancestors, and ordered a colossal statue of the dwarf god Grungi to be hacked out into his own, not insubstantial image. Furious at this new outrage and poor level of craftsmanship, the dwarfs gathered en masse to hew down the offending goblin warboss and his followers. The dwarfs, led by King Bregric, met Grom's Waaagh at the Battle of Iron Gate. Grom was pleasantly surprised to find so many Dawi to challenge him. The dwarfs had quality, Grom had quantity, but which of them would reign supreme? King Bregric had deployed his forces in advance, expecting the green-skinned horde to come in his direction. Grom's army did not bother assembling into formation at the sight of a good fight. They charged with reckless abandon. In the lead were chariots and cavalry. At the height of their charge, the dwarfs unleashed their artillery. Cannon and organ gun booms filled the iron gate. Stone throwers hurled boulders above the heads of the defenders to crash amongst the charging chariots. The greenskin horde was so thick they could hardly miss. A massive wreckage occurred, creating obstacles for those behind. The numbers were so many that it hardly mattered. They smashed into the dwarf line, or would have, if it wasn't for a small trench just in front of the dwarfs. Many chariots crashed or were flipped in the first assault. The ones that survived were quickly hewed down. Close on the heels of the chariots and cavalry were the rest of the orcs and goblins. The bodies of the first wave only served to fill the trench, and now the grind was on. The dwarfs, battle-hardened all, were not ready for such an assault. Goblins attacked with a ferocity the dwarves had never seen. After many long hours, the goblin horde broke and began to fall back. The dwarfs would not have as long as they liked to lick their wounds. Before they could get their injured to the back to be looked at, or restock their ammunition, the greenskins had charged again. They had barely managed to form up a front line to take the charge. All signs of the beaten morale of the goblins were gone, their vigor renewed. After more hours of fighting, even harder than in the first assault, the orcs and goblins once again broke and retreated. Fatigue was already starting to make its mark felt on the dwarves, but that didn't stop them from moving hastily now. They once again moved their injured to the back line to be tended to, and restocked their ammunitions. Just like the previous time, the orcs and goblins collected themselves and came back at the dwarf lines. The king could no longer stand idly by, issuing orders to his warriors. He threw himself into the melee wherever the fighting was thickest. The fighting went deep into the night, and even into the next morning. Warriors were cycled out between each break in the fighting. This went on for an entire 3 days. The dwarves could take no more, and they were forced to retreat behind stone walls, lest they be completely overrun. Grom's army had suffered countless casualties. It was a slaughter unlike anything he had seen before. Even he was forced to consider his options. The battle was a draw, leaving no clear victor. For the dwarfs, this result was nothing less than a disaster. Grom's rusty axe had reaped a grim tally of the king's best warriors, and with so many of their brethren dead, there could be no hope of driving the greenskins away. Despite the pride of the dwarves, they sent emissaries by gyrocopter to the Empire seeking help. Unfortunately for the dwarves and the Empire, the reigning emperor was Dieter IV of Stirland, and perhaps the most feckless and callow individual to ever sit upon the imperial throne. When the dwarf king's messengers reached Dieter's golden palace in the then capital of Nuln, the emperor reacted immediately, not by sending help, but by removing his entire court further westward to Altdorf in order to be as far away from possible from the threat. Disgusted, the dwarf messenger returned to Karazakarik, where the king received the news of the emperor's decision. King Bregric put a fresh entry in the Book of Grudges. Unable to contain Grom's ambitions without aid, the dwarfs resolved once again to shut their stout doors and defend their hold from within. By the time word had reached the emperor of the battle, Grom the Fat had already replaced his losses with new tribes, particularly goblins, who flocked to join the corpulent leader. Grom's Waaagh rampaged through the mountains, but they were unable to take any major dwarf holds, or bring the stunties out for battle. All the while, night goblins from as far away as Red Eye Mountain, as well as many goblins traveling from the Dark Lands, joined Grom's legions. Through Peak Pass came long lines of mobile shanty towns, the caravans of the swindle-happy trader tribes. Many of the lean wolf rider tribes came too, hardened by their lives in the Wolflands. They sought to put their banners beneath the larger-than-life, now legendary Grom. As befitting both his massive status, as well as ponderous frame, Grom began to travel everywhere abroad in an especially sturdy chariot. Hey guys, this is Keg here. This video was really late coming out. I was hoping to have this out a few months ago when the Grom the Paunch and the Warden DLC had dropped for Total War Warhammer. But I got distracted playing the game instead of actually making this video. But here's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This is going to be a 3-part series. Next part is going to be when he's rampaging through the Empire. Third part is when he gets to Ulthuan. I'll try and have both those videos out in the next month or so. After that, I'll probably do something for the Wood Elves because they got the next DLC coming. But, I hope you guys enjoyed this. And I'm off to work now because YouTube doesn't pay my bills.